Hello, and welcome once again to another episode of r/NuclearRevenge. My name's Ryan, the official host here at Reddit Voice. And before we jump into things, I'd just like to say I would appreciate it so much if you were to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell to stay up to date on all the latest videos. Anyways, let's jump into that story. How I screwed my stepmom over the moment I had the legal option to do so. Hey there, r/ProRevenge. After first finding many YouTubers reading stories from here and then reading some myself, I finally decided to try posting on my own revenge story. Since it's my first time posting, please be lenient with any formatting or spelling errors. TLDR at the end. Backstory: I'm sorry it's long, but some context is needed. When I was about 9 to 10, my parents got a separation, later a divorce, where my dad forced my mom to sell my childhood home, and my mom got main custody with my dad having us. They had me and my 4 years younger sister over every other weekend plus every other holiday. He moved out only to immediately move in with the stepmother and her 3 kids. The youngest was 2 years younger than me and a boy. The middle year older than me and a female, and I'm not sure about the oldest age, but she was also female. I never interacted much with her. In an ideal world, us 4 kids would have gotten along great, played together and whatnot, or at least ignored the existence of the others. Sadly, it's not an ideal world and that didn't happen. My sister got along with them just fine. I didn't. Maybe it was me, then still undiagnosed Asperger's syndrome. Maybe it was me not instantly going, yay, new family. But the step-siblings didn't like me. They started bullying me, and my little sister joined in because she ignored her new step-family, and she was just 7 at the time. Over the first 6 months, the bullying got worse, and worse until I broke and tried to call home and get picked up, at which point my dad decided to start confiscating my phone as the first thing he did when picking us up. The bullying escalated even more. There was nothing I could do. The step-monster defended her precious demon spawn, calling me a liar, and saying things like, "My kids said they didn't. Whatever they did or said to hurt me that day." Or, "She's just lying for attention." During the next year, I would try to run away from my dad's place a few more times to go to family. They lived less than a 40-minute walk away from an aunt and about a 1 to 1.5 from my grandparents. Then my dad and step-monster moved over 2 hours by car away from where my mom lived. Things got so bad that I dreaded going to see my dad. Sitting at every dinner, the only time I would see my dad at that point between pickup and drop-off. Listening to my dad calling my mom a fat greedy pig and other evil things hurt. At 12 to 13, I was suicidal and numb. Since I would only see the step-monster, mostly when she told me to get the heck out and play or something, or just get out of the house, I tried telling her that I wanted to die, that I didn't want to keep living like this anymore. Her response? "I don't care. Get the F outside already. If you're gonna kill yourself, do it outside." Not long after that, I had a meltdown at school, crying for hours and unleashing the whole nasty tale onto them. Since my school was a good one, the teachers contacted CPS, who talked with me, ran some tests, and sent me to a psychologist. At some point, they contacted my dad with their concerns for my mental and emotional well-being. My dad dealt with them by calling me, saying, "Since you feel you need to lie like that, you shouldn't come visit anymore. Stay with your mom, I don't care." That was my last conversation with him, although I heard a lot about him and the step-monster from my sister. Now for my revenge. 10 years or so later, I get a phone call from my dad's sister about him passing, car accident and funeral. I went and I met the step-monster again, obviously widowed now, and my half-brother for the first time. During the funeral and following wake, she proceeds to insult me, my mom, and the rest of the dad's family. Then she starts complaining about how his name is on everything they had together, and how is she going to keep the house? It was paid down, but taxes and whatnot now. She never worked a day in her life, and such things. Which is where my revenge comes to play. See, in my country, the children of the deceased have a right to claim a minimum of $115,000 each. If there is that much money or value in good left behind, and there's no will stating otherwise. Normally this claim comes after the deceased spouse also dies, or when they try to sell the property worth the money, whichever comes first, normally see. Legally, the children can claim it at any time. They just don't, 'cause decency and pity for the widow. Too bad I hate her guts and both the youngest step-siblings. And it so happens my dad and the stepmonster own some award-winning show dogs, the house, and land and car. The stepmonster also got some insurance money, plus she will get a sum of about 60% of what my dad would earn if he was still alive every month. If my dad had a will, she could have kept all of that for herself or my half-brother. He didn't, and by that time my sister also hated her guts. So I talked to her and did the only thing I could think of. We took her to court claim on our inheritance. Sure, we got many looks of disgust and mutters of greediness, but in the end we won and I got my share of the money. My sister got hers and our half-brother got his, locked in a trust fund for when he turns 18. This meant that the house, dogs, and car had to be sold. The insurance money also got split, so us kids each got around $115,000 each, in a trust fund for my half-brother. As for the step-monster, she got around $1,000 and the monthly sum of around $3,700. She was livid, started screaming venomous stuff, saying I should have killed myself when I was considering, and how's she going to live now, she has no house, and how dare you force me to sell Grimer, obviously fake name for my half-brother's childhood home, and calling me a bee and other such things. The judge had to threaten her with contempt of court and get her escorted out before she stopped. Edit 1 removed the acronym I used for stepmonster, and thanks for the support. Edit 2, someone asked about her reaction, so I added that. Edit 3, grammatical errors, and holy shit, that's a lot of comments and upvotes. Thank you again, lovely people. Edit 4, some people have been commenting on the currency I've used in the post. I used dollars because that's what most readers would understand. The actual sum we got was closer to 1 million each in our currency. Also, the dogs in question got good homes and was not family dogs kept at home. Plus, the stepmonster did have the opinion to buy us kids out and kept them. TLDR, stepmother supports her kids in torturing me as a child and tells me she doesn't care if I die. 10 years later, I force her to sell the house and dogs. Grandpa gave up what time he had left for revenge on my behalf. TLDR at the end. This is a throwaway account for obvious reasons. This story has a few references to some triggering things, just FYI. Now I've been debating over posting this or not, but have finally decided I will. This is my grandpa's nuclear revenge on my behalf. So I guess let's begin. It's going to be a long story. I grew up dealing with a lot of mental health issues, as my mother is a drug addict and my father liked to ignore my existence as I'm the result of a one-night stand while he was married. So needless to say, his wife hated me, and their children treated me horribly as well. The only good people I had in my life was my grandma and grandpa on my father's side. I loved them and spent a lot of time on my grandpa's business. I'll explain that a little later. Now at 14, everything went further downhill. I won't go into details, but my mother almost passed away, and I met a man, let's name him Goat. He looked like one. Long story short, Goat was 25 at the beginning, and emotionally, physically, and sexually abused me, while I was under the present that I loved him and it was okay. He pushed me away from my grandparents and isolated me for 2 years until a friend helped me get out of it. During this next year, Goat stalked me, threatened me, and had me absolutely terrified. I was afraid of going to the police as I didn't want to bring harsh light to my grandpa's business, and because I was afraid. I was staying at my friend's house for a while during this time as my panic attacks and what I now know as PTSD was horrible and I hated to be alone. During this time my grandmother passed away, one of the only lights in my life left, so I became worse and I began drinking and going to parties and trying to forget my life. Right before my 18th birthday, Goat made a real-life appearance again. On my way back from a big party, he jumped me, beat me black and blue, and almost killed me. I was found and taken to a hospital where they began treating me as I was underage and asked me to call an adult in my life that they could talk to. I tried to call my father, but he didn't pick up. Knowing my mother wasn't going to help, I had to call my grandfather. He was at the hospital in lightning speed, and for the first time in my life I watched this man that had built his own empire really break down. Even at my grandpa's funeral, he didn't cry. I spent 2 months in the hospital with police questioning me and my grandpa by my side every day. During this time, he met my friend who helped me out of it, and it was the beginning and became very close to him. My grandfather helped me get on my feet for a whole year until one day he had a large family gathering and socialized the whole time. Talking with him, the night I will never forget, We went to get ice cream and then he just hugged me for a very long time, holding me tight and reassuring me that everything would be okay. The next day my grandpa exacted his revenge. Now my grandpa was the owner of a well-off law firm that also had private detectives in a smaller office in his building. He apparently tracked down Goat and went about his revenge. My grandpa shot Goat 3 times in the stomach and once in the chest. Goat passed away in the hospital later that day while my grandpa was taken in and soon put in jail for manslaughter, to which he pleaded guilty to. I never got the chance to visit my grandpa in jail as he passed away soon after in complications. 1 week after my grandpa's death, I got a call from his solicitor and he asked me to go in. I was met with a lengthy letter from my grandpa which was nothing but loving and showed that he had found out he had terminal lung cancer and wouldn't live much longer, but he couldn't happily leave me alone in this world without Goat being gone too. My grandpa left almost everything to me. At 20, I would inherit the law firm and could do as I pleaded with it, and I inherited 95% of his savings, his house he lived in with grandma and his other assets. In case anyone's interested, I turned 21 last week. I'm currently working at the law firm. My grandpa's secretary, now the CEO, has taken over the important things in the building and makes most of the decisions. I spent half the money I was given in locked saving funds for all the younger family members to go to college when it's time. I cut all contact off with my father, who tried to steal money from me during the death arrangements of my grandpa. My friend mentioned earlier in the story is now my fiance, and we're getting married next summer. I'm still suffering from PTSD and depression, but it's getting better every day. I'm in therapy for my PTSD treatment. I got a tattoo for my grandpa and grandma on my back of 2 lions protecting a cub. I also opened a safe house for anyone going through abuse of any kind. No matter what race, gender, or age, I'm trying to help anyone that I can in the situation. Besides for what I've put away later in life, I'm also thinking of opening up a bakery. I always wanted and employing the people that need the job and help the most, but I'm unsure of the moment about that. My grandpa and grandma was a godsend, and to this day I miss them greatly, but I know I couldn't have changed the stubborn old man's mind even if I tried. I'm sorry this is long, I tried to make it shorter. TLDR, my grandfather killed my abuser and left everything the law didn't take to me. Edit, I wrote a part wrong, whoops. My mother didn't die, she almost did. Edit part 2, thank you so much for the gold. Also thank you to all these comments. It's so uplifting and entertaining to hear people talk so highly of my grandpa. Thank you to everyone for being so wholesome and amazing. And with that, my friends, we've reached the end of today's video. If you liked it, make sure to leave an actual like on the video and check out some of our other stuff and maybe even subscribe. As always, my name's Ryan, the official host here at Reddit Voice, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video.